Welcome back, my fellow degenerates. Week 7 is complete. I'm going to be honest, it was a hard one to watch. That Dolphins Colts game, like, oh my God, what a waste of time. But not only was the quality of a lot of these games this week piss poor, but we lost some stud players as well. Like, oh, not again. Anyways, we also lost our faith in the plans that we all had coming into the season. I know quite a few of you out there thought Anthony Richardson, he's the guy to save me this year. He's going to break fantasy football. The only thing he's breaking out there is the Colts fans' hopes and dreams. Anyways, a lot of hopes and dreams dashing this week. We had Mahomes and Purdy, QB duel of the week. Zero passing TDs, 5 picks, terrible game. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson, 5 TDs versus Baker Mayfield's 3 TDs. That was an exciting one to watch. Unfortunately for Baker, he lost both of his stud wide receivers. So got to keep some eyes over there. Good news for the Chiefs, though, is they traded for Deandre Hopkins. It's exciting. We're going to talk about it. All you really need to know, DeAndre Hopkins better than McCole Hardman and better than Justin Watson. Great news for Patty and the Chiefs. Then we'll talk to you guys about some players that are nearing the end of their tenure this season. What do we mean by that is your darlings, your saviors, Chuba Hubbard, Jordan Mason, their time may be coming to an end. Jonathan Brooks, CMC could be making the returns very soon, and we're going to talk about what you do with these players. Also, some other guys that you don't really know what to do with. Maybe Sam Laporta. I don't know, think it's too crazy to cut him to the waiver wire right now. We'll touch on that. Anyways, that's about all I got though. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. As always, good luck with all of your fantasy football endeavors, unless you're in one of our league, because then luck ain't gonna save you. Peace.
Audio. 3, 2, 1, action. Welcome back to the DGen Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Schmader. With me tonight is our other host, Dylan Rains.
Yellow.
Dylan, how we doing?
We're doing well tonight. We're doing well. I went 0-5 in my fantasy leagues this week, but that's okay. It happens.
This was an okay week for me. For a lot of up and down in week 7, I ended up okay. But tonight we're going to review all the games from week 7, talk about all the fantasy superstars who we think is a god tier, and also who we are thinking about potentially selling, a guy that we don't want anything to do with on our team. And then tomorrow we're going to come out with an episode looking forward to week 8 over some starts of the week, some flex considerations, and what else should we do tomorrow? I trade sell.
Yeah.
I sell.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Maybe some sells, some buys. I mean, we're halfway through the regular season for fantasy, so you kind of like know where your team's at, and it's time to kind of make a move. So
yeah, like if you're 2-5, it might be too late, but you should try to do something like pretty.
Yeah, it
crazy.
Can't hurt you, right? You're 2-5. You got to swing for the fences.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. One of those swings on a 2-5 team I had was Javonte Williams for Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
Which I immediately regretted, and then this weekend was, or I guess it was Thursday night.
Yeah.
Javonte had a game. And let's talk about that game. Let's jump right into it. The Thursday night game last week was the Broncos versus the Saints. And the Broncos just absolutely mollywopped the Saints.
Yeah.
The final score, 33-10. So you can't take much away from this game, obviously. The Saints are completely banged up. Rattlesnake, Spencer Rattler. Shout out AJ. He said we need to stop using nicknames as much as we do. So Spencer Rattler had no shot, no receivers, and their defense looked horrendous. So my only real takeaway is Javonte Williams can be started with confidence depending on soft matchup.
Yep.
I still would not start him against some of the best run Ds in the league.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all that. The other takeaway I have is like Bo Nix looks kind of nice. He's got like a pretty good rushing floor. I think he put up 70 plus yards this game. So, I mean, that's just way more than you expected from him coming into the year. So if it's like a super flex league or even like deeper leagues or you got hosed at QB, not a bad play. So, but I agree. The Saints stay away right now with Derek Carr out for a few weeks. Olave might be back this week, but you don't want him with Rattler there. So,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Bo Nix is definitely looking like, what I think, well, no, people hope they AR-15 would be a god,
yeah,
but, he's kinda doing what people that have AR would like him to do. I will say Cedric Wilson had 7 targets and Mason Tipton had 9 targets, so if anything, this kinda gives me a little confidence in someone like Olave
yeah,
where, Spencer Rattler, um, might just hyper target him.
yeah,
He does have a tough matchup this week, though.
yeah,
Moving on to the next game, Patriots and Jags was the final game in London, and again, the Jaguars just it wasn't really a game, but a couple things that are worth talking about. Hank Bigsby, and I wrote in my notes, "Has he arrived?" Question mark. Can you play him with ETN back? ETN might be coming back this week.
yeah. I don't know if he can. I kind of he had got such a good workload with ETN obviously out, but I mean he had 2 touchdowns, 25 plus carries. I think. I played him in a league, obviously reaped the benefits, but I don't really know what the running back room is going to look like. Also, the Patriots D has struggled big time this year, especially against the run. So um, we'll see. It's just I wouldn't confidently play Tank next week, but I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes the lead back. But it's just going to be a committee with ETN healthy. They're not going to not play ETN. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, and the Pats D does suck.
yeah,
Dearness Johnson even had, like, a 10-point game.
yeah, he did.
Um,
So
ETJ looked amazing again. Not getting a ton of targets, but he's making the most out of them. He had 5 targets on the day. And that's about it, but the Tank Bigsby showing was really something. You should expect him to have a good game against the Pats, but, like, ETN was, like, a 2nd or 3rd round pick, and I don't think he's, like, getting his old share back,
no,
so that
definitely
sucks.
not.
Sorry, ETN owners. Alright, next game.
I want to say Drake May too did look good also this game. 2 TDs, almost 300 passing yards. I think 275, but that did look promising for him. So not a great game overall by the team, but he's throwing the ball a lot. So it could be exciting for some of the receivers on the team in the future.
Definitely,
But
definitely. I picked up Drake May just because he has athleticism, he has upside, he
yeah,
put up a couple 20-point games in a row.
yeah,
If you have a quarterback that's streaming, Drake May might be a good option on some weeks when it's a bad matchup.
yep,
Next up, we have the Seahawks and Falcons. This was kind of a surprise. The Seahawks beat the shit out of the Falcons, 34-14. Another big day for Kenny Walker. He had involvement in the passing game as well, scored a touchdown, a couple receptions. DK Metcalf, unfortunately, got carted off, but I don't think his injury is all that bad. So you should have him back within the next couple of weeks.
yep,
And Geno Smith looked good. On the other side of the ball, Kirk Cousins did struggle. But Drake London scored again, good volume. And Kyle Pitts, 7 for 65 on 9 targets. So, and Bijan had an amazing game. But
yeah.
what do you think about Pitts? Is this going to last? Like, is Mooney kind of taking the third seat?
Um, I don't know. I think it might. I think they're kind of figuring out this offense slowly, right? I think Drake is like the bona fide one there, and then it seems like Pitts is kind of like the number two behind Mooney. I know Mooney had those blow up games, but they're in those games where they're throwing the ball 50 plus times. So
Yeah,
obviously that game script is not reliable. So I kind of like Pitts. Yeah, it's just we'll see if gets any touchdowns. I mean, that's really what the tight end position relies on, but great usage. So I'm happy with him.
right. Yeah. Last couple of games since I traded him, he's
Yeah.
had great usage. They play the Bucks. We'll talk about this tomorrow, but they play the Bucks, which is the team at London and Mooney went absolutely crazy on
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. So it's looking pretty good. Okay. Next up, Bills and Titans, which I honestly I didn't watch any bit of because the Titans are just absolute correct trash. The Bills beat them up 34-10.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, poor games from everyone involved, including Tony Pollard, who we did say last week was the only one worth starting.
Yeah, this game was interesting because the Titans actually got out to a 10-0 lead. And then the
Yeah,
Bills just like they were slow to get it together and then they just clicked. And then Josh threw all over the place. Great game. So um
yeah, yeah. Josh Allen, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns.
yeah.
Ray Davis and James Cook didn't do much on the ground. But I think the story here is Keon Coleman, a game, 4 for 125, decent volume, 7 targets. Amari Cooper didn't really play that much, but when he did play, he was being
Yeah.
thrown to every time. Scored his first touchdown as a Bill. And Clear Shakir just continues to do his thing. So, I don't think Keon and Cooper, you can start. Shakir is still a flex. And then Dalton
Yeah.
Kincaid seems to be kind of taking the brunt of the Cooper
Yeah.
acquisition.
I'm also not super excited to start Keon yet. I know he had a big game, but Cooper only played 19 snaps for the game out of like the
Yeah.
55 total. So I think that's going to go up. Keon's going to see less work because I mean Cooper came in on the short week after the trade, so um,
Yep.
and he's more of an outside guy, just like Cooper. So I wouldn't be jumping the gun to start Keon after that week, but I agree with Kincaid and Shakir kind of being flex and less exciting pieces to play as well.
Yeah, Cooper is interesting. I'm curious how he'll do. I think
Yeah,
some people are pretty bullish and they're like he's gonna be top 12. I don't know. He's always been kind of like a boomer bust
yeah.
type of player.
He's been
But
on
I
a
agree with the
lot of
Keon
bad
take.
teams, a lot of bad QBs for Amari.
Yeah. Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah,
This could be like his final Twilight year resurgence.
yep,
I would say you can definitely start him going forward. Next game, Bengals 21, Browns 14, the lowly Browns. Honestly, this was kind of a boring game too. Joey B
yeah. This game
was
sucked. It was
this
so
game was
bad.
awful.
Yeah,
I mean, let's cut to the chase. The only thing really worth talking about is that Deshaun Watson is done.
yeah. Fucking Dunzo. Probably career too, not just this year.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts
Right
at
when
least.
Cooper leaves.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen Cooper with Jameis. We were talking
Oh,
about that for a long
dude.
time.
Yeah, that would be fun. Because DTR, I think, like hurt his thumb as well or something.
Yeah,
So
Jameis is starting.
yeah, so that's exciting. I mean, Nick Chubb back, got in the end zone. That's exciting. We'll see what he looks like for fantasy going forward with Jameis, but you can't start any of the receivers here. Njoku, a lot of targets. You could play him, but that's a bit on the Brown side.
Yeah.
Um,
I think Njoku is like he's gonna be fun to watch. I don't know how
yeah,
well he'll do at such a bad team, but
yeah,
he'll get fed. On the Bengals side, T. Higgins and Jamar continue to perform. T. Higgins has put together like 3
yeah,
really solid weeks.
yeah. He has.
I think you can just continue to ride that wave.
Yeah, and then Chase Brown as well has definitely secured the, number 1 role over there over Zach Moss, not even close, so
Yeah, he beat him out in snap share, which is good to see. He's more explosive. I think they'll
yeah,
ride Chase for a while.
but
All right. Texans and Packers. This was a great game if you haven't seen it.
yeah.
This is becoming like a little they were pretty chippy. It's gonna become like a little rivalry. CJ oh, CJ really struggled.
Yeah, this game was
Packers defense is
disgusting.
very good though.
Yeah,
Listen to his stat line. 10 for 21, 86 yards, sacked 4 times. Oh, that might be one of the worst games of his career.
yeah,
Luckily, Joe Mixon is a god.
yes.
Continues to crush it on the ground. So he was looking like a steal in the draft. And then Packers, Jordan Love continues to just be his gunslinger self. 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Very Jordan Love-esque game. Josh Jacobs looked pretty good. And then from receivers, Romeo Dobbs is the second week of having double-digit targets and kind of been like the first Reed look,
Yeah,
while Jaden Reed was barely involved. So
He had a
Again,
couple
this is kind of what
injuries.
we expected. What'd you say?
Reed had a couple injuries though. He like went out, then like got checked out. He was fine, went back in, then went out again. So he wasn't on the field the whole time, but nothing
Yeah.
substantial.
Yeah, but this is kind of what we were worried about
Yeah.
in the preseason.
Yeah.
Where you have Dobbs, you have Wicks, Christian Watson, Aiden Reed, tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Would you say Reed is a sell candidate?
Yeah, for sure. I think I Breed's what, like wide receiver 7 right now? Something like that in full
Yeah.
PPR. There's no way he finishes top 12. It's just this is gonna be the case every week, which is like fine for the Packers offense NFL wise, but I'm not excited. I don't think Jaden Reed gives it up. I think he's the number one there and he's gonna have like the most design plays for him, but it's not enough.
Right. Some games he's gonna
Yeah.
blow up. In other games he'll go 2 for 10. Um, and his wide receiver 7 is pretty reliant on 2 massive
Yeah.
performances.
So
Oh, just another terrible game. Dolphins versus Colts.
oh god, dude, this
The
was
Colts won
so
16
bad.
to 10. This is so bad. So bad. Let's start with the Colts here. The Anthony Richardson experience for fantasy owners is just devastating.
Yeah, so ugh.
10 for 24, 129 yards. He kicked in 56 yards on the ground. So that's nice. But you just can't play him. Like, he's a
Yeah.
guy where I would start Drake May over.
Yeah, for sure. He fumbled the ball as well, so that's been an issue for him. He didn't throw a pick this week, but he lost the ball on the ground, so
Yep. And unfortunately, all of the Colts receivers are affected. Michael Pittman, who's a good player, is not going to get it done. This was like a decent game for him at 3 for 63.
yeah,
Um, and then Josh Downs, did he play in this game?
barely. He got hurt.
Yeah,
He might be out again,
he got hurt.
so, nothing serious, but we'll see. He seems to get hurt a lot, so I mean, like, Pittman's the only one you'd wanna really play, and even then, he's like a maybe, like, in your flex if you have, like, a start 2 flex in your league, but he's not
Yeah,
exciting to play. He's like a
no.
desperation play.
Right, because you have to hope for a touchdown, and, like, the chances of that happening seem pretty small.
Yeah, and then,
On the
dude,
other side of the ball,
this other side is the most frustrating thing. Dude, I don't know what these
yep,
all of their play schemes are just drawing up screen passes for Jonnu Smith. Like,
that was crazy.
yeah, like Tyreek had 2 targets. I think Waddle had maybe 2 as well. Like, it's just Jonnu Smith had like 7, 8, or 9. I can't remember, but like it's just like, what are they doing? Like Mike McDaniel, like get your head out of your ass. I mean, hopefully Tua's back this week and the whole offense changes, but it's not exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't even really, like, I wouldn't even say you can buy low on Tyreek at this point because all the owners are, like, so happy that Tua's back, but
Yeah.
I really wouldn't buy low on Tyreek anyways. The chances of Tua getting a head injury again, like,
Yeah.
one hit, he could be right back on IR.
Yeah.
So, if you got him,
I kind
just
of like
pray that it
buying
gets better.
Waddle more so because Waddle you can probably get for like dog shit.
Yeah.
So and he's
And I
had
have Waddle in the league, and I wouldn't sell him now unless
yeah, exactly. It's too late now, but
and next up, Lions and Vikings. This is also a banger game.
yeah, this was so good.
31-29. Lions walk away with it. It was a very good game though. And Jared Goff again performed. Like he had a great game. 22 for 25, 22 out of 25, 280 and 2. Jameer Gibbs dominated. I got Gibbs in a couple leagues. Amon Rob, big game. All the stars were out.
Yep. Except Laporta.
Montgomery and Laporta, not so much. Laporta, is he a drop candidate at this point?
Dude, you can't drop him, but like
I know.
you're probably better off streaming.
Yeah. Like Zach Ertz, it could have put him in.
Yeah.
Jonnu Smith.
Yeah.
You are better off streaming. It's crazy, but there's just too many pieces, and the run game is on fire.
Yeah.
So I would plan to do someone else for that. On the other side, Arnold had a pretty solid game, 22 out of 27, 260 and a touchdown and a pick. Uh, he's doing enough to support AJ, Addison, hell, even Jalen Naylor gets some play. And Aaron Jones is still just a dog.
Yep.
That was a good run D, too. I was worried about how he'd perform against that, but he had 14 carries for 93 yards, a touchdown, and involvement in the passing game at 3 for 23.
Yeah.
In fact, you would have been better off playing Johnny Munt than Sam Laporta this week, I think. Hold on, let me add this up.
Yeah, he would have smoked him.
4.8 versus 3.5 points. Yeah. Crazy,
Yeah.
dude. The season's been wild for tight ends.
Yeah. I think the only other thing of note on the Vikings here is TJ Hawkinson should be back this next week. So if anything, it probably takes away from Naylor and Addison, but JJ's fine.
Yeah, they've played together before. If it,
Yeah.
hopefully it just keeps Darnold like up in the upper echelon of, he's not upper echelon of quarterbacks, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Hopefully it keeps him smooth and steady, and they just keep winning games.
Yeah.
Because right now the offense is great, defense is great. That team's in good shape for a team that people had doubts on.
Yeah. A lot
Next
of
up,
doubts.
a lot of doubts. So much so that I saw certain drafts that were JJ was second round, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Eagles Giants. This is a blowout, 28-3.
Oh my god. This game sucks, dude.
I
Did you
wouldn't even say the Eagles played well. I'd say like
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley played well.
Yeah, did you even enjoy this game as an Eagles fan? Probably not, right?
Enjoyed watching Saquon, but I also was like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
the team does not look good. Jalen barely passed.
Yeah.
He did throw a touchdown to AJ Brown. AJ Brown looked good. It was good to see him like dominating again.
Yeah.
But Devontae Smith not involved. I would not be concerned about Devontae Smith if you have him.
Yep.
That was a Saquon game. Like,
Yeah.
and they had no need to get a player like Devontae involved.
Yeah.
The Giants side, we can just really blow right through this. EJ was under a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
and he's terrible under pressure, and that's going to hurt Malik Neighbors, who this was his first kind of dud game. And I think it might be kind of a wake-up call for Neighbors owners where
Yep.
he's just not going to get you that. It's Daniel Jones and
Yeah.
the Giants, so be prepared.
Yeah, I was talking about someone about this earlier in the week, and I was like, I think this is going to be much more of the norm for Neighbors, unfortunately, this year. Like, those first few games are great, but like, it's fucking Daniel Jones, man. He can only get away with it for so long. Like, it's not
Yeah.
gonna, yeah. So,
Unfortunately, we're not taking anything away from
yeah, it
Neighbors.
has
He's a
nothing to
great
do with him.
player. Yeah, but it's a bad team, guys. And EJ will get him there some weeks, but other weeks he'll be running for his life and making poor decisions. And that's Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Next up, Raiders Rams, another
Oh,
fart fest.
dude, so many
Rams
bad
20
games.
It's so many bad games, dude. And
Yeah.
and so many players kind of tanked because of it. But the Rams won 20-15. They're back on Gardner Minshew now because Aiden O'Connell got injured.
Yeah, he broke his thumb.
Um,
So,
yeah. Addison played okay. And
Ye-
Brock Bowers, of course, is
yeah,
just a stud.
Madison's been, I mean, Zamir was back this week and Madison still saw 23 carries. So, in like a full PPR league, Madison's kind of like a great like flex play, or even
Yeah.
RB2 if you're like down bad. But other than him and Bowers, don't touch anything else here.
Yeah. Madison's been perfectly fine. He's kind of like what Zamir was to this team the last 5 games of the season last year. A little career resurgence. Brock killed it again. On the Rams side, Stafford played like dog shit. Kyron Williams did his thing. Just keep scoring touchdowns. My question about Kyron Williams is he has like little to no involvement in the passing game, which is typically a problem for like RB1s. but he's been scoring so many touchdowns.
Yeah.
If you're a Kyron owner, I have him in a couple leagues. Would you want to sell him, or is there enough confidence where it's like, okay, the Rams can move the ball enough, or Kyron's going to get some red zone carries and he'll finish?
Yeah, I think as the receivers come back as well, he'll see some more receiving usage, but, like, right now, it's, like, Tutu Atwell doing, like, speed option plays, and then it's, like, who else is there? I mean, Whittington was out this week, they got Ty Johnson as their leading receiver, so it's just, like, there's no real threat for the defenders, so they're just, like, stacking the box, and it's, like, I don't know. The team is just kind of in shambles, so it's, like, a good thing they won,
Yeah,
but I wouldn't panic.
and that's a almost like a confidence builder. Is that
Yeah,
Kyron's been running against a stacked box and he still gets it done for you. He still puts up,
exactly.
15 to 20 points. But those touchdowns, if that faucet turns off, like you're going to be hurting. He'd have 7.6 points
Yeah.
instead
I
of
mean, if you
20.
can, like, pivot to, like, Kenny Walker or someone like that, I could, like, see the argument for it, but it's, like, I wouldn't, like, tear down from Kyron, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and just hope that Cup doesn't get traded. Uka should be back soon. I mean, if that team can win this game they're playing the Vikings. Never mind. We won't even go there. We'll talk
Yeah,
about that tomorrow.
yeah.
It's a tough game. Tough game. All right, next up. Commanders 40. Panthers 7. Oh god. Dalton played bad enough that Bryce Young now has a door. He'll be playing next week. The whole team was pretty bad. Chuba's run kind of ended. He still scored a touchdown, but he got
Yeah.
stuffed a lot on the ground. Anyone else you want to go over? Deontay.
Deontay I mean, we'll see. Andy Dalton, actually, he's injured, that's why he's not playing, so it could also just be an excuse, but that's why Bryce is being brought back. Deontay had a gross game.
Yeah.
Jatavion Sanders had a good game. You're never gonna play him, though. He's a rookie tight end, but keep eyes on him, I suppose. He's not a bad stash if you have spots, but yeah, I mean, Chuba's time is coming to an end. This offense looks terrible. I wouldn't even wanna start him next week, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, but you had a good run, man. You did what
Yeah.
you could, but not good enough. For the Commanders, Daniels got hurt. I don't think it's like a long-term injury.
X-rays were
Him.
negative. They were worried about broken ribs, but he's fine. So he should be back. But Mariota balled
Where's
out.
Mariota in his place?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mariota in his place, like, had a great game.
Yeah, he did.
2 touchdowns. Brian Robinson, another solid game. McLaurin, another solid game. Zach Ertz,
Yep.
like the greatest streaming tight end of the season.
Yeah.
They look very good at 5-2. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade for a receiver just to get it going a little bit. But this is kind of
Yeah.
the team in the NFC East right now,
Yeah. I agree.
which is shocking. I
Yeah.
mean, I think we all were kind of high on Jaden Daniels with the athleticism and the arm talent, but we were like, okay, he's injury prone.
Yeah, I didn't think he
I
was
didn't
gonna
expect that.
translate at all. I was like,
You didn't think so?
yeah, I was like, he's gonna bust right away, man. Plus, it's like the Commanders. They're such a doomed franchise that I was like, there's no
Yeah.
way that they like figured it out. But I mean, it looks like they did, so that's exciting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see. Cliff Kingsbury is kind of having a career resurgence.
Yes,
He's
yes.
taking Brian Robinson with him. Alrighty. Your Chiefs, 28. They beat the Niners, who are struggling right now.
Yeah.
Mahomes didn't do shit.
No.
Again, we've been saying this for 5 weeks. He is like a quarterback 14 that gets drafted high every year. He's capable of throwing for 50 touchdowns, but not with this receiving crew.
No.
Um, leading receiver, for example, was Noah Gray
Let's
and
go.
Shane Perine. And then Xavier Worthy, 3 for 19.
Yeah.
Kelsey did not do anything either. Kareem Hunt is now like the star
Yeah.
running back on the team,
He's an
which is
absolute
really
dog,
something.
dude.
Absolute dog.
It's crazy.
Checo is going to come back at some point, right?
Yeah, it's looking like late November. is the timeline. So that being said, though, like the Chiefs are 6-0 right now. We'll see what their record looks like. I can't imagine they're like in any rush to bring him back. Because obviously their aspirations are the Super Bowl. Like they don't want to rush Pacheco back, especially if Kareem Hunt's still balling out. So that'll be like an interesting thing to watch. But
I agree. I
yep,
agree. He's playing great, so you can't. Not like a Mason situation where like this superstar is coming
yeah,
back and like definitely usurping. It's
yeah,
like they probably play both of them.
yeah. And I mean, we could
Um,
also touch on the trade too because we didn't bring it up yet.
yeah,
For they just traded fifth round pick for Deandre Hopkins. I think that's great. I mean, like Dan said earlier, Noah Gray is the leading receiver there, so D Hop takes a huge step up there over McCole Hardman, Xavier Worthy, P. Ryan, Noah Gray. So I think it's exciting for the team. They didn't have to give up much to get him. Some people wanted Cooper Cup to go there, but the Chiefs weren't going to give up the draft capital that they wanted. So Titans are still paying part of his contract, and it's a later round pick. So great pickup for the Chiefs.
phenomenal. Was Cooper Cup? Did the Rams want a second round pick?
Yeah, they wanted a second. So
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Now they have D Hop. That's awesome. Would you say this is good for Xavier Worthy?
yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah, I don't think
You think
it's
he's a buy low candidate?
potentially. It yeah. Worthy like wasn't a ton of draft capital, so he shouldn't be like nobody should be like relying on him too hard. So
Yeah.
hopefully at least. Otherwise you're screwed if you are. So
Right. And then they're definitely trading him.
yeah.
Um, on the Niners side of the ball, Brock Purdy played pretty horrible. 3 picks. He still ended up with a decent fantasy day because he stole 2
Yeah.
rushing touchdowns from Jordan Mason.
Vultured.
Yep. And Mason, as predicted with the matchup, he got bottled up. He still like one big run that allowed him to not have like an awful day,
Yeah.
but he's probably got like one game left potentially before CMC comes back.
Yeah.
So if you
Mm,
didn't trade him like I did, you ain't trading him. So
yeah.
we'll see. There's a lot of unknowns with CMC though.
Yeah, there is. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then
All right. What do we got next? Steelers Jets. Ooh.
fuck
Oh.
this game, dude.
Ugh. All right, let's talk about it. The Steelers looked pretty good, and the Jets early on, they looked good too, and then they just absolutely collapsed. But the Jets looked good, and Russell looked terrible, and then the script got completely
Yeah.
flipped.
They were like, that's not how
Once
it's
more.
supposed to work.
No, the Steelers put up 37,
Yeah.
and I think they had a garbage time score to make it a little bit worse of a beatdown. And the Jets at 15, and they're sitting at 2-5 now,
Yeah.
which makes playoffs like probably not going to happen. And they just acquired Devontae Adams. Um, Rodgers looked bad. Brees Hall on the ground, not efficient. Through the air, he had 6 for 103. So I think Brees is this is kind of what he did last year too, and
Yeah.
he'll take you far. And then Garrett Wilson, not much. Devontae Adams, really bad. 3 for 30 on 9 targets,
Yeah.
outperformed by Alan Lazard. Are
Yep.
you? What do you think about? I mean, Garrett. We talked about Garrett Wilson
Earlier.
before the show being the wide receiver 5.
Yep. I'm not too
What
worried
about
about
Devontae?
Garrett. Um,
You're not.
no. I think he's still I mean, they had 3 guys with 9 targets, but I think Garrett's still the one there. But Devontae, I mean, this is what I thought before this game was like Devontae's not going to be a reliable starter. It's like he's not going to give you that wide receiver 1 upside or even high end wide receiver 2. It's going to be some boom games probably with some touchdowns, but I think the majority of his points are going to come from touchdowns. So,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah. I think
exciting.
he's a 31, soon to be 32-year-old receiver. Rodgers is not what he used to be.
No.
It's just It was exciting that he got traded there, but just not the same as much as we would like it to be.
Yeah.
On the Steelers side of the ball, I'm going to say it. Russell Wilson looked pretty good.
Dude, I thought this was like the dumbest decision coming into the week. I was like, dude, the Steelers are idiots. And now I'm like, I'm an
Yeah.
idiot. Like, I think this is great for like the receivers fantasy wise. I mean, Russell had some nice, like pretty balls. Like it wasn't just like he handed it off a bunch of time and like short passes across the middle. Like Pickens had a game. Like, I don't know. It's exciting to see. Like, not what I expected at all. So, I mean, you got to give props to Mike Tomlin for doing this. This was like a ballsy move. So
Yeah. At 4-2 at the time, they're now five
yeah.
and two. Russell threw a his like vintage moon ball. I'm talking like just like threw it to the ceiling, and I was on my phone, and it was such a crazy pass that even my fiance was like, "Whoa!" She doesn't really care about football. And I looked up and I was like, "Oh my god, that's Russell from back in the day."
Yeah.
And like you said, Pickens had a huge game,
Yeah.
and his like talent was really on display.
Yep.
Um, and I've been kind of a Pickens hater on this show, but it was never about his talent. It was just about
Yeah.
kind of like team environment, and he's crazy talented.
Yeah.
Um, and I think this will help the run game a little bit as well.
Yeah. Najee got the bullshit touchdown with 20 seconds left. So that saved his week. But I mean, he put up 100 yards. So not a great week, but the touchdown really saved you with him. So we like that.
Definitely, and he really wasn't doing much prior to that.
Yeah.
Would you start Najee?
Uh,
Take away the matchup for a second.
like going forward. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like him still. I think he's like right around that like low end RB2 range.
Yeah,
Um,
which is about where he's sitting right now,
yeah.
for the season. He just gets no involvement in the passing game,
Yeah.
and so you're super dependent on touchdowns here, and the Steelers prior to this game, they scored so few touchdowns. They were just winning from, like, amazing coaching and
Yeah. I
defense
feel
and
like does he have zero involvement this year? I feel like he had a couple bullshit catches earlier. Maybe not.
just this past week, he didn't have any
Oh, okay.
receptions. I'm sure he's caught passes
Yeah,
all
he's
this
got
season.
14 catches this year, so it's like 2 a game.
Yeah, not great,
Yeah.
but it could be worse. Could be Kyron.
Yeah. It's
Alright,
true.
coming to the end here. Ravens Bucks, which was actually kind of a good game, like towards the end.
Yeah, it was.
Um, but most of the game, I mean, the Bucks never had a chance of scoring, and we'll get to this folly in a second. But most of the game, it was Lamar Jackson show. Like he looked like the ultimate fantasy superstar.
Yeah, I did.
5 touchdowns, 280 yards. Eric Henry, crazy game.
Dude, I went to bed, like, at halftime, and Derrick Henry had, like, 2 points, and I was like, "I'm fucking cooked." I mean, I still lost my game because I needed, like, a miracle game from Henry, but it and someone else, but, he cooked, dude. He even got the receiving touchdown at the end, 170 yards. Good lord, he's just the king.
He's the king, and he looks amazing. Like that, he had a long run, 81 yards. He got caught, but if you look at the tape, the guy took a cross field angle that was beautiful and just flew down the field. But
Yeah,
81 yards looks like he did 5 years ago. He was a great pick,
yeah.
and that offense is rolling. Receiving wise,
Oh
Rashad Bateman
god.
was involved. Don't worry about it. I expect him. I haven't really looked for him. I'm sure he's in waivers. And then Mark Andrews. This is a trap. This is a trap. He had 2 touchdowns, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 41 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he is getting red zone looks, but if you look at it, Isaiah Likely still had more red zone looks than Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews just came down with a touchdown, and maybe that is a good sign of things to come. But I think he's hurt me so bad, hurt my
Yeah,
soul
dude.
that I'm not ready to trust him again.
Yeah, I'm not ready to trust any player on the Baltimore Ravens for receiving. like none of these guys I want to play. I mean, Zay Flowers went down with the ankle injury, but he had one target. He was out for the game. He might be out this week. He didn't practice. So, I mean, trying to bet between Bateman, Aguilar, likely. I mean, Charlie Kolar's getting in there. I don't want to play any of these guys. I'd probably sell
Yeah.
Mark Andrews right now to some bozo who thinks like, oh, he's back now. But
Right.
even
And
then,
I don't
like,
think there's many of those
no,
bozos, which
I,
is like how bad he's been.
yeah. So,
Yep. It's a trap.
but
Miss me with that. The Buccaneers side, you don't need to harp on it. It was awful. Evans went down with a hammy injury early on. And then they kind of just like leaned on their running backs a lot and Kate Otten. And then at the end of the game, in the last drive of the game,
when it
when
was
even if they
over, it
scored,
was over.
it was fucking over, right?
Yeah.
Even if they scored, they're still going to be down by a field goal and there'd be no time left. Chris Godwin's ankle or foot started facing the wrong way after a tackle. So he's probably done for the season.
Yeah, he is.
If not, definitely. Going forward, though, there is some exciting options. Like I think McMillan,
Yep.
he's now at least until Evans gets back, is in the wide receiver one role.
Yeah.
Um, Cade Otton is kind of that streaming option we talked about.
Yeah.
He had 8 for 100 yards on 10 targets. With Evans and Godwin gone, play him over Sam Laporta. Play him over
Yeah.
Mark Andrews.
Yeah, there's really no competition. It's the running backs, and then it's like McMillan, Trey Palmer, Sterling Shepard, which is not exciting. That's like better than yeah. So
Yeah. Don't even waste a waiver wire pickup on Shepard and Palmer.
yeah,
But grab Cade Otton. I think Rashad White's going to get more usage in the receiving game again. He had a huge game off 2 touchdowns, but he finally was like involved back in receiving, 6 for 71.
yep,
And I'm sure Bucky also was 3 receptions for 54. So you might really start to see them get creative with Rashad, Sean Tucker, who ran the ball really well, and Bucky Irving.
yep. It's
But
just full blown committee.
yep. And if you're desperate, like play McMillan, I guess. We're
Yep.
about to find out. Last game of the week, Chargers and Cards, which actually did have an exciting ending, but it was a pretty terrible game.
Yeah, it was.
Kyler's just like he's a QB7 on the year, right? Oh, and the score was 17-15 Cardinals win. Which they should have lost that game, but Murray did have a 44-yard rushing touchdown, which saved at him for fantasy. But he did not look good to me. And that's affecting Marvin, Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, if you want to include him. What do you think about Kyler? I think he's going to start looking up for him.
I hope so. But I don't really know. This offense just looks terrible. It's just I don't know what I mean, he's just like running around back there lost. Their line's
Yep.
not great, so I mean, like they have a great run game still. Like James Conner had a game, but
Yes.
it's just they're not getting enough time. The offense is like never targeted outside receivers. Last year they like were bottom in the league. This year they're also bottom in the league. So it's just like only like short pops really are really working out. So it's just that's not like a recipe for like a good team. So, but the rushing upside really saves him. I mean, he's getting 10 points on the ground this week. So
Yeah, true. And he does it. He does it a lot. 64 yards. A couple weeks ago, 83, 45, 59, 57. So
yeah,
he is being saved from like a full bust game. But the next 3 games for Kyler, and then they go into the bye, are Miami, which has a good pass defense, Chicago, and the Jets. So it's like three pretty legitimate
yeah, those are good D's.
defenses coming up. And then his playoff schedule, late fantasy season schedule, kind of loosens up a little bit. So that could be nice. But he does not inspire confidence.
Yeah, he does not. But you got to play him.
Got to play him. On the Chargers side, Herbert played amazing, right? Listen to this stat line, Dylan. 27 completions on 39 passes, which is probably the most he's thrown
Yep.
this whole year. 350 yards through the air,
Yep.
which again is the most he's had all season
By
by a long
far.
shot.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's crossed 200.
No, he has, but it's like 250 was his highest. So
Yeah. And then, but like it didn't really translate into any particular big game for
yeah.
wide receivers, or it did not. And then Will Disley, again, another streamer, 8 for 81. But I don't think this is common. This
No.
wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, there a lot of their teams banged up. Obviously, Quentin Johnson didn't play. Ladd played, but he had a hip injury. So my belief is they kind of used him a little bit gingerly. But I mean, he still had 7 targets. But the receiver room is so bad, man. And like we kind of knew this going into the year that this is going to be the case. And like nobody's really elevated. So it seems wild that he threw for 350 yards, but no touchdowns,
Does.
obviously. Bad game on the ground. But I will say, like, this Chargers team is like, they do look good, even though they didn't win. So, like, their defense is great. So,
Yeah. Which is crazy they flipped it around that fast. And Herbert looked great, but like you said, didn't translate the points.
you know,
But he poor Herbert, because he could probably do that every game, but that's really not their script. And then when he has to, you have Josh Palmer, who's a letdown this season. I was kind of high on him going into it. You have McConkey, who is a target machine, but
yeah,
he's not that guy. And then Simi Fahoko, is he a tight end?
no, wide receiver.
No, he's just a guy. Oh, and Jalen Rager had one reception for 41 yards.
Yeah, he did. And he also
There
fumbled
he
the
is.
ball and lost it on that reception. So, fucking bum, dude.
That's Jalen Rager for you.
Yeah,
Drafted before Justin Jefferson, I believe,
yeah, he was.
by the Philadelphia Eagles. I will never
Yes.
forget that. And
Huge
then the
come up.
previous year, they drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, 2 picks before DK Metcalf. So think about that. Think about that, Howie. That's why they went and traded for A.J. Brown, because they
They can't
had enough
draft.
of
Just trade for
enough
him.
of drafting. And that completes it for week 7. Which week 7, again, a lot of bad games and a lot of bad fantasy performances. Hopefully things look up in week 8, which we will review tomorrow night.
Yep.
Any closing thoughts still?
Um, I mean, I need the NFL to get better, right? Like these past 2 weeks have both been awful. I mean, we talked about the injuries, but like the gameplay is just like outside of like 2 games. I was so ready for like the Niners Chiefs, especially like me being a Chiefs fan, Simon being a Niners fan, to be like a great game. And it was like I didn't even want to like talk about the game because it was so bad. It was just like, oh, here's another pick, like, oh, here's a pick, like, and another one, like 5 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, like, ugh. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Mahomes threw 2, Purdy threw 3,
Yeah.
both the run games. Or Hunt had a decent game, but he only had 70 something yards. But yeah, it's been a shit show this year. And like that was we were doing like the top 10 surprises of the season. It focused a lot about QB passing, which does seem to be getting better. Right,
Yep.
QBs are throwing for more yardage, but it's really not translating into elite receiver play. And then now we have all these receivers getting hurt. It has made trading in fantasy very difficult,
Yep.
um, just because of the lack of depth. But hopefully things pick up. Moving on to week 8, and hopefully things turn it around.
Yes,
Archangels.
sir.
We will see you guys next time. Please make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, give us some critiques.
Yes.
If you disagree with any of our takes, keep it to yourself. No, I'm just kidding. Put it in there. We'll engage. And we will see you guys tomorrow afternoon.
See ya.
Or whenever we publish the video.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever.
Same thing.
All right. Peace.